Thank you for doing this. This is a huge honor for me. I'm a giant fan. Forever. Like, since I was a kid. So.
Well, are we going?
Yeah,
we're
live. Good. So for me, there's certain people I meet where it's like, whoa, okay. And you're one of those.
Well, I have a very different experience. I only know about you what I've heard. I've never heard your show. I had to ask you, are you Joe? Because
Perfect.
I somehow I knew you were like in the fitness, and everyone out there seems to be a weightlifter, and you're outer. Even Danielle seems like she did lower body today, but it's nice to meet you. And people are some people are very, very excited that I've gotten come down here to be on your show. So.
Well, you're an interesting guy.
Other people are concerned for me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are they? Yeah. Legitimately?
I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know why it's the weightlifter thing, because I have no predisposed. I have no premonitions about it. But when I walk in here and I see, I got to look at that. What is that green neon?
Oh, that's the local racetrack. That's the Circuit of the Americas where Formula One races.
Okay.
That's my friend's place, so he gave me that.
Okay. Yeah, I walked in and I saw all these Hunter Thompson things. I felt automatically like, okay, well, this guy can't be a complete disaster. And then I walked down the hall, and there's Hunter wearing a hat that I gave him.
Oh, that hat with the gun?
Yeah, the one where he's in a cockpit, it looks like.
Yeah.
That's a dog hair hat.
Oh,
That's
wow.
dog hair. So if I have to stand up,
right, you're not
I can take a breath and go back down and continue
right.
my untying, So I went in and, I was untying, and the guy could tie some knots, even with socks. So after a little bit, I thought earlier, I was like, maybe I'll just take a quick breath and go back down. Well, I stood up. Well, try it, Joe. Lash yourself to a chair and try to stand up.
Yeah, it's hard.
Well, I'm a little over 6 feet, but if you're tied to a chair, you don't get to fully extend your calves any more than that. So tied to a chair, I'm only like 5.
You couldn't get out of the
5'8" or something like that. And it was funny to see like that camera shot of like, there are people up there and I can't reach them or speak to them because I'm still underwater. So that's when I started to work more feverishly on the knots. And I kind of was going, hey, this is, I'm kind of leaning with my head, like push me down to 5 feet instead of 6 feet, so. But he was strong enough, and because I was buoyant in the water, he just picked up the chair out of the water. So I lived through it. But it was a funny way to meet someone. And the next day I found out that this was Hunter S. Thompson.
You never asked him his name?
No. He never asked me my name. I don't know that he knew who I was either, I think he thought I was just a funny guy, and we were kind of like holding court and being funny.
Well, that must be fun for you, though. Like, I enjoy when people don't know who I am. Like, it's very rare for you.
It's preferable.
Yeah, it's not. But you have figured out this way of navigating life where, like, you're not a cell phone guy. You probably don't even have email, do you?
No, I have them. I have these things now. But if you have children, you have to get a cell phone,
right?
Because they will not answer a telephone, but they will answer a text. So that's right. I had to break down. Yeah,
but you've managed to stay blissfully detached in some sort of way.
Yeah, my email is AOL.com.
Is it really?
Yeah. So that was my concession to it. But
one of my favorite things you did with Hunter was when it was a filming of some sort of a documentary or something, or is in a documentary, the footage is, and you're going around trying to convince people that Nixon got a bad rap.
Yeah. That was good. We were trying to write something funny. I was with my friend Dick Blasucci on that one. And I can't remember. There were like 2 or 3 of us that were trying to write this thing. And we rented a Klieg light, like a big Hollywood premiere, kind of one of those giant lights that they flash up in the sky. You don't even see them very much anymore. And we were just outside the Chateau Marmont where Hunter had a room at that moment. And we were doing, we were excited because Nixon's back, and we were interviewing alleged people on the street, men on the street saying, What do you think about this? Because it was after Watergate, and Nixon had basically burrowed down, and Hunter had a powerful hatred of Nixon. Really didn't like Nixon, of course, but I just remember Dick Blasucci saying, Well, I'm excited. He's tanned, he's rested, and he's ready. And I still say it all the time. I say it about myself all the time because I think it's funny. How are you, Bill? I'm tanned, I'm rested, and I'm ready. But saying it about Richard Nixon, I thought was a really brilliant thing to say.
Well, after
anyway,
that, it became a common phrase.
yeah,
Like people use it all the time to this day, probably not even knowing the origin.
that's right.
Yeah.
And it's Dick Blasucci who did it. And we weren't there for like 45 minutes before like, I work in the industry and I know you have to have a permit to have that light on. I mean, there were people, they came at us. We were a going concern for about 1 hour tops. And that was with like professional argumentative people like Hunter, myself going, that is a fabulous watch you're wearing. Where'd you get that? You know, just anything to keep this thing going and to keep the cameras rolling on our super stuff. And demands. But yeah, that was one of the things. I had a lot of fun with the guy. Really, he really was a lot of fun. He really could make a lot of fun.
I really wish I met him. He's one of those people that, just really wish I met him.
Well, you can still read it. You know?
Yeah.
There's still so much more stuff that I hadn't even read then. It just keeps appearing. There are things that are so beautiful that he wrote that are good. And, you know, people text me things and say, you know, about what's going on, and how sort of prescient he was about things a long time ago.
Yeah, dead on about so many things. I mean, you could take a lot of his commentary on politics from 1976 and apply it easily to today. You know, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail is one of the best books ever on the American political system, just like what it's like when people are running for office.
Yeah, to me it's a better book than Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is really fun. But
yeah,
the Campaign Trail book is so insightful about America and about Americans. You know,
yeah,
it's great reading.
No, the movie was fun. Fear and Loathing was fun. It was just it was a great introduction to a lot of people maybe that weren't aware of Hunter. Like maybe then you'll start reading his stuff. But it wasn't all, you know, chaos and acid and seeing lizard people in the bar. It was there was like even there's moments in Fear and Loathing the movie where, you know, there's this one thing where Johnny Depp is at the typewriter. Or is that in the movie or is that in the documentary? Whereas at the typewriter, he's talking about how the 1960s, there was this great wave of change. And then
the high water mark.
Yes,
you can see it on the mountains. It's a beautiful piece of writing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And when Johnny Depp is saying, the way he's saying it, it's like, it's so beautiful and melodic.
Yeah. Why don't you, Jamie, why don't you see if you can find it? It's about the most famous, it's the most famous line you ever wrote.
Let's take this
beautiful.
in.
Sure, go ahead.
Grab the head in that. The way he did it with gonzo journalism, where he just would have real facts mixed in with fiction, and you couldn't tell what was what, and you had to be in on it to understand what he was doing.
Yeah, you had to enter the event
to
comment on it. You had to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played him.
I did play him.
Yeah, we were talking about it before. I loved it. Where the Buffalo Room?
Yeah, where the Buffalo Room.
Was that weird to play your friend?
There's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it was any actor that has to play either a living person, especially a living person, or a famous person, has a real responsibility to that person. You know, you can't just be that person for 90 minutes. You have to realize that person was that person for 60 some odd years or 70 or however many years the person was. You've got to try to get all that into your hour and a half or 2 hours. You've got to try to take in as much as you can so you're not lying. You know, at least you're giving the best you can to say, this is who I think he was. This is who I think that person was. She was. He was.
Did you run any of it by him? Did you try to talk to him as him?
Well, he was living in the guest house.
So you were around him all the time?
Yeah. So I would go to work, and I would come home, and then we would stay up, and sort of just an hour or so before, maybe an hour and a half before, 2 hours before dawn, he'd have a NyQuil and scotch in the hot tub, and then go to sleep. And then I had to get about 90 minutes, and then the Teamster was knocking on the window saying, Bill, L.A. And then I'd have to go to work. So that's what it was like while we were shooting the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. And he appears in the movie briefly. I can't remember all of it, but he appears in the movie briefly. And together we wrote a scene. I was always constantly changing. John Kay wrote the script, but I was always playing with it, and because I was always being informed more, and that's what I did anyway. I just pretty much, I felt the freedom to change anything. But we did write a scene. Hunter and I wrote a scene that was late in the movie. Pardon me. They gave me these beautiful, massive things.
Cough drops?
Yeah. Want one?
No, thank you.
Yeah, so he was in on a lot of it, and the editing of it. We can secretly say that too, and the it was a lot of there was a lot. He was really involved.
Very nice.
So
good shot. So you're saying he wrote a scene? You guys wrote a scene?
Yeah, we
together?
wrote a scene together. Yeah, which was encountering Nixon in a urinal, because he did have a moment with Nixon where you
in the limo.
That. Remember, yeah,
yeah,
and he was told he could not speak politics; they could only talk NFL football.
Yeah,
which Nixon was rather, knowledgeable about. And Hunter copped to it. Was like, yeah, the guy really studied it, and George Allen, it's in the book, but
yeah.
Nixon even designed a play that he gave to George Allen, who was the coach of the Washington Redskins back then, and they lost like 10 yards or something on the play, but Allen actually ran the play, Nixon's play. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just also insane that they would let Hunter get in a limousine with the president. Like, just that alone. Like, who greenlit that? Who thought that was a good idea?
He'd been on he was on the campaign trail. Sure. He also, for whatever he was, the people who knew, and like Secret Service guys, you ever run into them, they read people for a living. This is what they do, They read people. And they can really burn a hole through your head and your body just looking at you. And they'll give you this one, they'll just really burn you. And, he'd been on the tour. He'd been on the road with them. They knew who he was. They knew what he was after hours, and they knew what he was during hours, where the people who were really smart knew, this guy's really smart. This guy's really smart. He knows politics. And you can't try to dumb down. You can't try to big time him, because he'll kill you. He'll chop you. He's got the words to answer, and he has the intelligence. So he was a force. People knew who he was. Even to get information, you got to go into the people who work for the guy. So the people that work for the guy know who he is, and they've already established that they have a relationship with him. They can speak with him. He's talking a certain way. There's a reality check. If you're running someone's political campaign, you have the best jokes about the campaign. Not Hunter Thompson maybe, but you have the best jokes because you've seen it all. You know how stupid things get. And if you can be realistic and savvy about those things, then people trust you.
Well, it's still pretty extraordinary that they also got him to agree, or at least thought he would agree, that he would only talk about football.
Well, he knew if he blew it, that was it.
That's
and that was going to be the end of it. And it was only, I don't know what month it was, but.
There's more coffee in this if you like.
Oh, is that your stuff?
No, that's everybody's.
Okay, well, we'll try to finish it all off.
I just feel like yours is probably.
It doesn't have to be super. I keep coffee for days, at least 2 days. If it's not hot, it's got ice in it.
Just keep drinking?
I just keep drinking it.
Yeah.
That smells good. What kind is that?
Black Rifle Coffee.
Where does that come from?
It's an American company, veteran-owned company that made by real coffee nuts that travel around the world and find different blends and different.
It smells good. There's a lot of coffee you can't even smell.
It's very good coffee. Yeah, it's just that meeting in the limousine is one of my favorite meetings, because you could feel how weird it must have been for Hunter to be sitting in a limo, getting a ride with Nixon, and they're just talking about football. and then they
Well,
can find
it's very
common
much
ground.
like this is happening. This has been happening in my life anyway, and I'm sure it's happening in everyone's life for the last, got to be 10 years, where you meet people, we have something in common, we've got something we got to get done, you know. But if we talk politics, we're leaving the rails, you know.
Right.
All hell's going to, you know, we're not going to get along. We're not going to get anything done. We're never going to be friends, and you know, it could be worse than that. We could be be adversaries or even enemies, or
Right.
you know. So that, I mean, it's you mentioned it. It's like I go places where, and I'm sure you do too, where you just can't talk. You just don't want to talk politics with people because there are people that are, you know, whose politics can be the exact opposite of yours, completely 12 to 6, and yet there are people that have lived lives that are so extraordinary and so enormous in terms of what they give to the world and the planet. And you think, well, how, you know, why would I like ever want to get, it's a mystery, you know, it's kind of a mystery, but it's, if you don't like value that first instead of your kind of political,
Right.
you know, handkerchief, you know, you're making more of a mess, you know. That's kind of what's, you know, that's what I feel a lot about what's going on in everywhere. You know, that people are leading with their handkerchief and not with their whole self. You know, what they understand about what living is.
I agree 100%. I think that we're just too tribally divided, and people look at it like it's us versus them. They enjoy the comfort of being a part of a tribe. They lock on to whatever ideologies the tribe support, and then anybody who opposes that is somehow or another the enemy. And it's just it's a division tactic that's been used by the people that actually run the government, the actual world itself. The real people of this world, especially the people of this country, have mostly share the same common core needs. You want to be healthy, you want to have a good family, you want to be able to make a living, you want to live in a safe place, you want your kids to be able to go to a good school, you want everybody to prosper and have a good time. That's most of what life is. All this other shit that people get so goddamn caught up in, most of it has very little to do with you. And you get locked into it like it's 100% of your identity, and the next thing you know, anybody who opposes you is Hitler. And it just gets...
That's true.
It gets so toxic.
His name gets bandied about a lot lately, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good
one. You know
one.
what? But you sort of started it by bringing up that quotation of Hunter's, which is so, and I think about that all the time. I can not, but I think about it regularly. Like, what was that force that movement had, that anti-war movement, whatever that was? You know, it wasn't perfect. You know, it wasn't perfect. I think the thing that if I had to regret anything or anyone regrets anything about it was the sort of hostility that was shown towards the actual servicemen,
right?
Most of whom were drafted,
right?
You know,
right,
to fight, you know. So those service people had an experience that I will never have. I was in a military movie. That's as good as it ever got for me. But there's the thing about being in war together with people is everybody hates war, and who could hate it more than someone that was there?
Right.
But the sort of camaraderie that you had is an experience. I'll never have that. I'll never have that thing that, you know, Rambo had. You know,
right.
I'll never have that thing. And I don't think that. I think that there could have been more vision about who we're talking to, or who we're talking to about whatever kind of change you want to make. And so that the agents of it are not necessarily the architects, like you say, the people who are making this tribal thing. They're not the agents of it, you know. Right. They're the architects of it. And how do you jump over, or how do you excuse, or not excuse isn't the word, but how do you
unite,
miss the people that are the agents, who are just people that have a job or whatever it is. They're doing their work to survive and live, whatever it is. How do you get to the architects with whatever you feel is that what could be a shared experience, and get them to like sort of dissolve the creation of the tribal world? I think it's You asked a great question. You have people on here, I guess, that know, or think about those things and have the ability to do something about it. I don't think I have the ability to do anything more than something for myself mostly. It's just.
But you do, because you have the ability to express yourself, and you're an example. And a lot of times when someone is a very reasonable, intelligent person like you and you express yourself, other people get inspired to maybe re-examine the way they're looking at things.
Well, that's a nice hope. I hope that maybe that'll happen.
I think that's maybe one of the only
right back
things.
at you then. Okay.
Thank you. Because part of our problem in this country is that we're in competition every 2 years. Every 2 years, you have midterms.
It is crazy.
Elections every 4 years. So
we don't get a break.
No, we don't get a break.
We don't get a break from these people.
No, we don't get a break. We don't get a break from division.
Get a break.
We don't get a break from propaganda. We don't get a break from new threats. We don't get a break. It's like every day it's a new thing. And it keeps us completely in this constant state of stress and anxiety, and also this fear of being overcome. Like your side's going to lose.
Yeah, if I
the
fall
bad
asleep
people
too
are
early
going
tonight,
to. We're going to lose the internet.
I'm supposed to be on watch or something.
Yeah, it's very, very stressful, and it's not healthy for human beings to be constantly in this state of competition and stress. It's bad for, and then on top of that, you have most people are addicted to social media, so you're constantly getting inundated with the worst fucking things in the world all day long, and you're freaking out. It's terrible for you. It's fucking terrible for you.
I mean, that footage made me cry. Now you're going to make me cry. Okay, no, it's true. Someone's got to. There has to be some sort of a new, I don't know if it has to be a club, but, there's got to be some sort of new, it used to be music. I think music played such a big part of whatever that movement was, whatever you call the peace movement or the hippies or, whatever it was. It was an extraordinary moment in time. And the music was part of the experience and part of the, it brought the message. And it's sort of, it crashed through everybody's brain. There wasn't a side to it.
Right.
It's like, what were the soldiers listening to in Vietnam? Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
We were all listening to the same stuff, no matter where you were.
Yeah.
No matter where you were listening to the same music. No matter what your politic thing was, the music sort of told a story. And sort of suggested a possibility.
And the music was so much different than the music of the past.
Yeah.
And it was like you go from 1959 to 1969, you're dealing with a completely different dimension. And it's because it was all psychedelically inspired. And that was another thing that the Nixon administration did. They passed that sweeping Schedule I Psychedelics Act, made everything illegal, and just threw water on the whole movement. And then everything changes. Then you have the 70s, music starts getting weird. In the 80s, it completely falls apart. Cars start looking like shit. People start dressing stupid.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
It got weird.
It's a real language. It's like when I never tied it all to that sweeping thing, but when you revisit that, you realize how much harm that did, that kind of lawmaking. But let's all agree that the cars don't look as good as they used to.
Look
Okay,
like
let's look. Who are those people that say they're the really good problem solvers? I see them every once in a while, and they go like, "How does he do it?" He said, "Well, first I say, what can we agree on?" Okay, so we can agree that cars don't look so good no more.
Well, they look good.
It used to be
now.
that every single year, every single car looked different than it looked the year before.
Yes.
And that's mind-boggling nowadays to think about that. And even now with the cars are made of, I don't know, plastic? What are they made of?
Yeah, they're made of shit.
They're made of nothing. They're not made of steel. They did it with steel back then.
Right.
And now they're made with, I don't know, some sort of carbon something or other. And you would think they would be able to, I don't know what a 3D printer is, I have to confess. I have no idea
We actually talked about it yesterday.
I have no idea what
the biggest one's 4 feet long.
The biggest one is 4 feet long?
Yeah, that's what Elon was saying. They're not.
So can you
make?
make?
You can't make giant
out
things
of this. You can't make anything
Not
bigger
really.
than 4 feet.
I don't think so.
But
I mean, maybe there's some
car parts
super.
now are. I mean, if you have a car, if you have a fender bender, there's 7 parts that you have to replace now. Panels and panels and panels.
But that's also because they're better structurally to withstand impact. They have these crumple layers, and they're designed in a way that makes it safer for you. They're a lot safer than old cars. And I fucking love old cars.
And the sound systems are better.